Welcome back to Footballology. So originally this video was going to be about the combine and what I expect from this year's draft class and just some of my takes on from the combine and then going into the draft itself. But we had two big blockbuster moves happen today. The first move was Aaron Rodgers getting signed. In my personal opinion, it's not as groundbreaking as the Russell Wilson news, but this Aaron Rodgers contract is different because here's the issue with that I have with this contract. It tells us, in my opinion, it tells me more what they think about Jordan Love than what they think about Aaron Rodgers. Now, when it comes to Jordan Love, we've seen that he was drafted in 2020. So he's been in the league for 2 years already. He's 23 right now, so we know for a fact that he will not be the Green Bay Packers starting quarterback, barring injury or something like that to A-Rod, for the next 4 years. So that means he's 27. Now, we've seen this story before with the Green Bay Packers where they've taken their quarterbacks or their veteran quarterbacks and just hung on to them a lot longer and even have a first-round quarterback in the wings waiting, and then he comes out and he balls out. So we've seen this storyline before. This is not new news to us, but it's really interesting that they were willing to go out and pay that kind of money to A-Rod and break the bank for him, knowing that they still got to sign Devontae Adams. They brought up Jair Alexander, which I didn't even think about during the combine. You still got Jair Alexander. You got that defense that actually played really well with Preston Smith, Darius Smith. You got a lot of linebackers. Like they couldn't keep, I think Blake Martinez that had to end up letting go. What do you do about your offensive line? What do you do about some of your other skill position? I think they lose Equanimeous and St. Brown as well. So it's like you're willing to go out and pay A-Rod this money, break the bank for him, and then with the risk of losing some other key players to that offense, indoor defense. And so it's like, wow, that says a lot, right? Because if Jordan Love, and in today's league, you've seen the Josh Allen Patrick Mahomes duel, you've seen Lamar Jackson win the league MVP, you've seen all these young quarterbacks come out and ball out of control and do their job and actually elevate their current roster and make their team better than what it was when they found it. You don't think Jordan Love is capable of that, or do you just think Aaron Rodgers is that good, so you don't want nobody else to have him? Like, what is the deal with that, right? So it's like, I personally, and maybe this is why I'm in the position I'm in on YouTube and not in a GM seat, but me personally, I could not hinder my team unless I knew I didn't have another quarterback. If you have a young quarterback, and my other theory here too is that they didn't trade Aaron Rodgers when his stock was high enough so they can get something in return. So the option was to either pay him all this money or let him walk for free. And so you're kind of stuck between the two. And I think they just paid him the money because they had to. But at the same time, like I said, it tells me a lot what they think about Jordan Love, because that's a lot of money to give to a guy when you have so many other issues and so many other things that you have to take care of on your roster. In my personal opinion, just saying. But like I said, I'm on YouTube. They're in the general manager seat. So what do I know, right? And so then we move over to the Russ news. Now, this is my first time. I kind of glimpsed the article before I started the video, but this is my first time really reading through the details of this trade, and I kind of glanced over it. They gave up 2 1s, 2 2s, no offense. Those are they're probably like right there. Those are the 5 key things. Drew Lock and Shelby Harris, they're gonna add some value here and there. At least Drew Lock is gonna come in and compete. Drew Lock, I think, me personally, I'm not sure about the other people in the NFL community, but me personally, I feel like the jury is still out about Drew Lock. I don't know why. I just feel like there's something there. And maybe Seattle, new scenery, new coach, new team, maybe get them right. Who knows? But they also got some other quarterbacks there, and I'm really interested now. Do they target like a Malik Willis? Do they target a Desmond Ritter? Do they target some of these young quarterbacks coming out this year, and they may feel comfortable with those guys? But that package, John Schneider's my guy. I like John Schneider, and I made a whole video about him. I think that what he does in Seattle is legit stuff. I think he's probably one of the best GMs in the league, especially when it comes to drafting and really getting the most out of his picks. If I had to today at this very moment, I would say that the Seahawks won this trade. Think about it. Russ is he's a third round pick, right? They did pay him some big boy money, so we're going to take that into consideration. But to get that five contributors right there, well, that's 5 starters, let's be honest. The 2 2s and the 2 1s, those are starters. And especially with John Schneider, like there's some GMs, like if you give a specific GM, those kind of draft picks, you say, oh, okay, cool, they got them. Like Ozzie Newsome. You give Ozzie Newsome that kind of weaponry going into the NFL draft, he's gonna eat with that. John Schneider is gonna eat with that. There's some GMs who knows how to draft. In my personal opinion, I think John Dorsey. I made a video on him. John Dorsey eats with that. There's some GMs that you can't give that kind of firepower to in the NFL draft, because regardless of what they gave up, What they're going to do with those picks are probably going to 10x whatever you got. And so the only way this trade works for Denver, the only way is if Russ bring a championship. Russ has to win a championship. And now let's think about that. Now you're Denver. Granted, Denver has a solid roster through and through. I think they were a quarterback away from being a playoff contending team, possibly a Super Bowl contending team. Russ makes them a Super Bowl contender. I give you that. But just think about what you got in house, right? You got Justin Herbert, who's only getting better. You got Patrick Mahomes, which we've seen. He's there, right? Like, he's that guy. And then we got the Raiders, the Raiders, right? So we don't know what Derek Carr and those boys are going to do over there, but they're still the Raiders. Like, they're still a divisional opponent. They're divisional games. You just kind of throw the record out the window. We all know that. That's just in house. Now let's get to the neighborhood. In your neighborhood, you got Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, which I'm indifferent about Lamar, but Baltimore is always a competitive team regardless of anything. You got the Cleveland Browns, which I'm not discrediting them at all, and hopefully they do something at the quarterback position, or just Baker just gets better, one of the two. But you got the Cleveland Browns. You got the Indianapolis Colts, who are a competitive team through and through. You don't want to see them because they got some juice, both sides of the ball. You got the Tennessee Titans, who have consistently been in the playoffs, consistently being one of those teams that can just dominate when they want to. So I say when they want to, so that kind of throws that out the window. But the Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville, I'm not discouraging Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a competitive roster, a really competitive roster. Now Doug Peterson is there. Hopefully he can flip things around and get them right. You got so many. The Bengals, come on, right? That's in the neighborhood. So I think that the Denver Broncos, in a slight way, granted they needed the quarterback, so I get that. But I think in a slight way, they slightly panicked. They panicked just a little bit and said, hey, we need to do something today, right now, at this very second. And they gave up a lot of future action, a lot of future capital. And I just don't know. Like I said, John Schneider with that artillery right there is a dangerous man. I think Schneider is probably one of the best GMs in the league. And what he's going to do with that, him and Pete Carroll, we knew that the Seahawks were going through a rebuild. I jokingly said this to my friend, because we're going to get into this in a second. Matter of fact, we're going to get into it right now. I jokingly said this with my friend. We were watching the safeties and the corners go in the combine. The safeties and the corners, we were watching DB Day. This draft, not saying it will, but we seen John Schneider and Pete Carroll put together a secondary called the Legion of Boom in one draft. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at it. You got Earl Thomas in the first round. I think you got Cam in like the fourth round. And then you got Richard Sherman in the fifth round. Three contributing players on your defense in one draft. This class has that kind of secondary action going on. We've seen a lot of guys. We got Seen right here, who's a safety who could probably play some corner possibly. JT Woods looked pretty good to me. Nick Cross was a guy that was really interesting to me. He ran fast, but he looked even better in the drills. Dax Hill, like, come on, bro. Like, there's so many good safeties and players in this draft. Kyle Hamilton, I can't even say his name. Kyle Hamilton, and he ran bad. And so, like they jokingly said, a lot of teams are hoping that, hey, hopefully teams buy into his 40 time, and he's a bad safety. And guess what happens? He slides right into the Seahawks pocket. Come on, Quentin Lakes. These are just the safeties, right? So you got some quality safeties coming out this year. And we're not even talking about the guys out of HBCUs, right? Because I think there's some quality players coming out of HBCUs. I'm so glad that they got to showcase some of their talent this year. I think a lot of NFL teams are going to start looking at some of their HBCU players. And so, like, you go over here, you got the, Wolin. He ran fast. Like, there's some long corners. We know John Snyder and the Seahawks and the Pete Carroll and that defense. We know they like them long corners. There's a lot of long corners in this draft class. There's so much draft action going on the secondary side of the ball, and the Seahawks are going through a rebuild, and you give them that kind of artillery. Oh boy. If you made me right now to this very point say who won that trade, I'm going to say hands down Seahawks won that trade. Nothing against Russ. I think Russ is an excellent quarterback. I think he's a balling out quarterback. But for him to be on the next 5 years, he gets 5 years, right? Before he's like possibly not Russ anymore, because we're not really looking at his mobility. It's all about his arm. So we say 5 to 6 years. Granted, that might look well, but what these draft picks in the right person's hands, which they are, could do possibly for the Seahawks is going to be crazy. And just in this draft alone, And on the subject of this draft, I definitely feel like this draft is a little bit slightly heavy on the defense side of the ball. There's some solid offensive players, but if you had to ask me, I think it's very offensive heavy towards the top half of the draft. The back half of the draft, you're going to get a lot of problematic players, players that need to work on some stuff. I mean, that's any draft. I mean, don't get it twisted. That's any draft, but I don't think you're going to get quality offensive starters from the fourth round down. I think 1 through 3, you're gonna get a starter regardless. Like I think your third rounder starting, and maybe slightly into the fourth round, you're gonna get some starters. But defensively, I think defensively you're getting starters 1 through 5, 1 through 6, starters 1 through 6 easily. And so I think this is definitely on the defensive heavy side of the draft. The quarterbacks are just they're quarterbacks, so they're gonna get drafted in the first round. But I'm not sold on a lot of the quarterbacks. Desmond Ridder, in my opinion, should be a second round pick. But I think he ran well, he looked well, he has some leadership skills that I think a lot of teams are gonna want in place. And if you're the Seahawks, I'm just saying, right? So you get the fifth year option if you get Ridder in the first round. Malik Willis, people are hyping up. I'm not sold on him. I'm gonna keep saying that until I run out of breath or until Malik Willis goes out and wins the Super Bowl and I just look stupid. One of the two. So, but in my personal opinion, like I said, it's a different defensive heavy draft. And I just wanted to come on here and just talk about these two transactions that happened today with Aaron Rodgers getting his big boy contract. His was his second big boy contract now, which granted he sat for I think 4 or 5 years behind Brett, and that was something that a lot of people were concerned with, that he's gonna be older when he gets started. But hey, it only worked for him, right? Like it only made him better. So we got A-Rod locked in for the Green Bay, and then we got Russ gonna be rocking those blue and orange, if you will. So it's a good day for football. It's a good day for football. These are two big, huge dominoes. It was funny because Seahawks kept saying that they wasn't gonna move Russ, but they finally moved him. And then now we got hold on, sorry, my brain skipped a bit. Now we got A-Rod getting locked in. So those are two big, huge dominoes for the off season, and it really starts to put a lot of other things into place. I can't imagine maybe Baker might be on the move still. We got Carson. So at this point, looking at all the quarterbacks, unless Tom comes back, but looking at all the quarterbacks now, the cream of the crop of a quarterback position has been taken off the board completely for a lot of teams. So now we move into the second tier of the quarterbacks. So we're looking at Baker Mayfield could possibly move, Carson Wentz could possibly be moved, Jalen Hurts could possibly be moved. Don't put that out of the question. Jimmy Garoppolo. So there's still that tier 2 of quarterbacks that if you're a playoff contending team, like if Jimmy goes to Cleveland, does Jimmy make Cleveland a better roster? You see what I'm saying? So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how things are going to move, or how things are going to shake out now moving forward. Someone might die during the outro. But like I was saying, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about the trade and about the Aaron Rodgers acquisition. Like I said, I think Aaron Rodgers, that contract tells me more about Jordan Love and what they think about Jordan Love than what they think about A-Rod, in my personal opinion. And John Schneider definitely won this trade, and he's about to ball out with these draft picks, in my opinion. And just let me know what you guys think about the combine, the trade, and the contract. I'm excited. I mean, shit, we're only in March. And the free agency hasn't kicked off yet. Like, things haven't gotten crazy yet. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the craziness of the NFL right now. And we're in the off season. I love it, and this is why I love the NFL. And if you're not a footballologist yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Go and subscribe to the YouTube channel so they become a footballologist. And stay safe, football fans.